Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 32 of the UTR Pro Tennis Tour podcast. My name is James Mackay. I'm the Director of Player and Collegiate Development at UTR Sports. As you know, the UTR Pro Tennis Tour is the go-to tour for rising tennis professionals across the world. Guaranteed matches, guaranteed prize money. Next on the show, a great partner of UTR Sports, Michael Woodson, the head men's tennis coach at Baylor. Michael, welcome on.
Well, thanks for having me, James. It's a pleasure to be here.
The first thing I want to bring up, as I was doing some research before this, was you graduated from Valparaiso. I believe you're a year older than me. You graduated from Valparaiso in a triple major in biology, chemistry, and exercise science. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true.
I have to say, I did a few of those classes in college, and I have absolutely no idea what's going on in those. So being a triple major and a head coach of tennis, I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Well, yeah, it's something. It's not something that we talk about too much here, but whenever the guys try to push back on me telling them to do their best in school and why, I can bring one or two of those majors out and give them a hard time.
So how did that happen? You obviously were passionate about that. You were good at that, and then from there you got into college tennis coaching. Why?
Yeah. Careful asking. It can get to be a long story. I actually started out at NC State. I was pre-vet, so I was very passionate about going into vet school. That's what drew me to NC State ultimately. I had an opportunity for an academic scholarship there, so I started out there studying pre-veterinary medicine. I loved tennis. I started playing actually late when I was 13. I was decent, but I wasn't the level that my players are here. And so didn't have an opportunity to really make an impact at NC State, and just grew more and more passionate in my tennis as I was in college. And so I wanted to go somewhere I thought I would really regret not being an impact player in a lineup somewhere. At the time, my dad was the head baseball coach at Valpo. And so one of my best friends and I were like, we're going to transfer and go somewhere to a mid-major program and have this experience that we really wanted. And so Valpo at the time had one scholarship. And so the coach I got to know through my dad, and because my dad was working there, I was able to get tuition remission, so I could go for free. My teammate, my good friend, was able to get a scholarship to go, and so we went together. When I was transferring at the time, I had 96 credits already because I brought a lot out of high school and college, and so in order to be able to be there and make the most out of it, they made me add a major. And so I had to pick something outside of biology and chemistry. So I added exercise science. I had to add a minor in human biology. And so I got there, fell in love with, being a part of the tennis team, had the opportunity to be a starter for 3 years, to be a captain, all these things. Average team. I thought we did well for one scholarship, but wasn't anything super special. Just great culturally, amazing guys, incredible coach. Awesome experience. Then my senior year in college, November 3rd of my senior year, my mom was actually killed in a car accident, hit by a drunk driver. And so that really changed my path. I was sure I was either going to go to med school or vet school at the time. I was well down that rabbit hole in planning, and that shook my whole world. And so I had an opportunity right away. My coach offered me to stay there at Valpo to get my master's in, ended up being in sport administration, doesn't matter, and coach the team, be an assistant. And so I knew I would be comfortable there. My family was there. I loved my life in Valpo. I didn't know anybody, any of the other places that I would have been going to med school. And so I made the decision to stay there, thinking this is going to be something that I will love to do. My dad's a coach. My mom was a second grade teacher, very influential person. And I thought I can live out my mom's legacy. I can impact lives like she did. Not with little kids, but with 18 to 23-year-old guys. And, never really thought I would be able to make a living doing this. I mean, my first several years of Valpo, I was making $3,500 a year. People usually laugh at that. And so, but did it because I loved it. And that's how this nerd valedictorian got into coaching high level tennis.
Well, I'll say, I appreciate the honesty there, Michael. This is why, again, I'm sure if people are listening to some of these episodes, I want genuinely real conversations. I want to talk with great coaches, great players, learn their story. I personally really enjoy it. I know obviously we work together a lot, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. So I really appreciate you being honest there about your family situation, the background there. I mean, just on that, how do you take experiences like that, devastating experiences like that, into now leading a team where, yes, you're playing for wins and losses and you're trying to win championships, but really, if you think about it, like, it does matter, but it really doesn't, how do you take that and do that whilst leading your team?
I don't know how well I do it, but I try my best. It puts it into perspective. And I would say I'm able to, at least for now, and I work on it every day as much as I can, to remain grounded and have great perspective on just what an incredible opportunity this is to impact young lives. And, that I hope, and I've had this happen. It's pretty well documented that I've got a player on my team right now who had a tragic family situation. That those are the things that you're really prepared for, and you get thrust into a very, very important role in their lives. You're already important, and I think your impact on people is never neutral. It's either good or bad. But to have experiences like I had and to get into this business profession the way that I did, I think it really helps me in that regard. And I like to be able to say, I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it, because I want to mentor young lives, not because I have to coach tennis because I can't do anything else. If it ever becomes, just about the wins or just about, making money, then I'm going to be done with this. And I think you have to be competitive. I think you have to be at a place where you have a platform in order to tell my mom's story, to, live out her legacy, to impact more lives. I wouldn't be on this podcast if I was still at Valpo. It just is what it is. And so I understand the balance, but truly it is about connecting with young people and helping them along their path. And I try to stay as committed to that as possible. And yes, in the recruiting process, we talk a lot about the tennis and how can we help them make it onto the pro tour. And this are all the great things that we're going to give them. But, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, when you get here, I'm going to help you progress as a person. And one day, I hope you're a great father, husband, a man of faith, whatever that means to you. And that I can sit in this, at your wedding one day and celebrate who you've become.
Really great stuff here. This is something I had to bring up at some point. Obviously, you had tremendous success. You've been at Baylor for 9 years, 5 as a head coach, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. You made the NCAA finals, made the national indoor finals, reached a ranking of number 1. You obviously did amazing things in college tennis, but this is something I ask a lot of coaches on here, is their definition of success, right? Is it for you? I mean, do you have something in your mind where you're like, this is it for me? Like, when this happens, it's like, it's a very nice feeling as a coach. Is it reaching number 1? Is it making Final Fours? Is it, watching your guy win a national championship? Or is it something outside of tennis? I mean, you tell me what as clear. I know I'm putting you on the spot and you don't have any preparation for this, but what is your definition of success?
Well, I had like 3 or 4 things come to mind as you were saying that I wanted to say. But I have a mentor, Hans Olsen, who's he's currently the women's head coach at UNC Wilmington. And as I was an assistant over these 4 years, before I became the head coach at Baylor, we didn't know when I was going to have a head coach opportunity, but I knew it was something that I one day wanted to do. And he took me through a process of developing a mission statement. What are my values? And I mean, I have a massive picture in my office of in my own way, these are the words that are the most important thing to me. So if you read it and you looked at it, you would understand who I'm trying to be every day. But when I developed a mission statement, the main part of it is I want my role to be somebody that moves somebody else closer to their goals. And so when I'm done with them, I want them to be further along in their path and their journey than they were when they met me. I get the question a lot. Hey, what do you think of this team this year? I mean, every year. And what are your goals for them? I was like, it's really, I want them to win for them. I hope they can win a national championship because I know that that's what they set out to do. And it will be an amazing accomplishment for them. But I want them to just do their best. I want them to come together and become a really tight unit. I want them to mature and grow as leaders, as individuals, certainly as players, but I want them to accomplish what they want to accomplish. And I want to leave, thinking we're proud of the way that we represented ourselves, our team, our athletic department, our institution. All the trophies and the wins, and that's great stuff. It really is. And they're amazing experiences that you can point back to. But the end of the day, the experiences that you have, going through this process is incredibly rewarding. And the most rewarding thing to me is seeing the guys that really want to accomplish certain things. And some of them it's, hey, I want to be a great father and husband. I want to be a really successful businessman. I want to play center court at Wimbledon, the US Open, whatever it is. Getting to see them, being in it long enough now to see them actually doing that, my older guys, that is way more rewarding than watching our guys win a match at Baylor. And my young coaches, people around the program are like, what are you talking about? Franson he's not winning any matches for the Bears. I'm like, man, but you should have seen him when he was a freshman. You should look at where he is now versus where he was when I met him. That is incredible. And just to even be 1% of his development and his journey to where he is now is just incredibly rewarding and special. And I feel very fortunate to be a part of these guys. And so for me, that's the definition of success. I know it's different for everybody, but and don't get me wrong, I'm competitive. All right, I want to win. I want to be a part of a winning program. And it does matter, but it's not the most important thing.
Absolutely love it. You mentioned your office. Your office so far, I see a lot of backgrounds where people work. I was doing one with Auburn the other day, and I was talking to Trey Morris. I was like, I think I can read a few recruits in the background, but it's nice. Are we missing any logos on the top of the office there? Any balls we're missing there?
I give my wife a ton of credit. I'd been collecting these since I was, a freshman in college. And, it started out going behind the curtains and, hey, look at this ball, look at that ball. And at one point they were laying on the ground somewhere at one of my apartments, and now they're nicely boxed up, and I actually have a bunch ready. I got a new Abilene Christian ball recently. Nice. My sister goes there, and I think I have enough for another case, but I'm definitely not the best now. I'm not paying any attention to it. It does look very nice up here. But I am not in the top 10, 25, maybe 100 in collectors, and I need to get to work. I get a lot of people reaching out to me, so I have a bunch of Baylor balls, and I'm not doing a good enough job. But it is pretty cool. I'm excited that we're going to be able to start having logo balls again, just because I think it's a special thing that we have in college tennis. It's an underrated touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of your guys, statistically, by UTR, you are a top 16 team this year. You have depth. Actually, statistically, your number 6 is a 13-1 by stats. I'm not saying you're going to play him at 6 or wherever, but that tells me you have a very good team this year. Your number 1 is also incredibly good, right? High 13, maybe even a 14. I can't remember. But tell me a little bit about the squad that you've built this year. Maybe touch on the chemistry, where these guys are from, and your expectations as a head coach.
Yeah, we do have a strong team this year. I think they've had a great fall. It's a nice balance of experience for seniors and talent, which is important. We've got we're all over the map. We've got 3 freshmen, we've got 4 seniors, we've got a bunch of guys that have been here for several years. I think adding Connor Van Skalkvik from Old Dominion. I mean, he's 17 in the country. He's had a fantastic fall. He brings great experience at the top of the lineup and just a strong work ethic and an excitement to be here. It's the biggest thing that we've been trying to work on the last couple of years is just accountability and holding each other accountable and saying to your teammate what needs to be said and not being worried about how they feel about it. And so that's been really great, and just seeing the guys grow as leaders in different areas has been rewarding. And so I think this team has a chance. I try not to put a label on it. We ask them, hey, what do you guys want to accomplish? And I think there's a high level of belief in each other and what they can do. But there's a lot of really good teams out there. This is as strong of, I don't know if college tennis has ever been stronger. It just somehow continues to get better and better and better. And so I think there's teams that have higher UTR ratings than us, several. There's also, teams that, could probably be better than us talent-wise at each spot. But the thing that I really like about this group is the experience and the understanding of college tennis. And I think that's something that you really can't, you can't put a number by. I have a feeling with this group that they're going to compete really well in the college setting, and the toughness is developing for sure. And they just understand. They understand what it's going to take from each of them. I think they're learning and understanding what their role is. And I've got some difficult decisions to make about lineup and how we're going to play it. But it is a good problem to have, to know, hey, we can play anybody at any position almost, and feel like we're in a good spot. It reminds me a little bit of 21, where we did not have any idea who we were supposed to play at 1 through 6. And so I'm excited for that challenge and look forward to seeing what these guys can do.
Always a good problem to have, not knowing what you're going to do. UTR, obviously, you go down the list and you definitely want to look at it and you want to play some matchups out here and there. But at the same time, the guy who's your 6 actually might like to play a 3-level player because of the pace, or these are all things that college coaches have to go through. Usually down at the bottom of the lineup, maybe you're looking at guys that have a little less ball speed. They maybe hit higher over the net. They don't hit as many winners. It's all a kind of matchup game for college coaches, whilst also trying their absolute best to play it by order of strength. Lineup and scheduling, huge. What was I going to say? I was going to say Big 12. This is for our listeners, but also for me, right? Big 12's changed a little bit. It's been moving, lots of teams going different directions. I believe right now we're Baylor, Arizona State, Arizona, TCU, Texas Tech, BYU, UCF, Oklahoma State, and Utah. Did I miss anyone?
You did not.
Tell me a little bit about the conference on the men's side, maybe even the women's side too. Advantages and disadvantages, and what it's like to compete in that league.
Yeah, we have always been a big fan of the Big 12. I think in recruiting, I would guess all 4 Power 4 conferences find a way to explain how they are the strongest and the best conference. And so, the honest truth is we all have really, really good teams. I think if we go into this season in the Big 12, we have 4, maybe 5 teams that could end up in a top 16 hosting spot. Which is amazing for us. So it's built in strong scheduling. Generally, before we were able to drive to every single conference match. That has obviously changed. So we will fly at least 1 time per year in conference, maybe twice, depending on if we host Central Florida or we're on the road. And so that I don't mind it. I'll lead with a disadvantage. is there's 4 altitude schools. You could turn it into an advantage. When we talk about development, it is good for the guys to play in. It is something that we have to pay attention to. But we are experiencing different conditions when you come to play in the Big 12, because Arizona has altitude, Lubbock, Texas Tech altitude, and then Utah and BYU are a lot of altitude.
Wow.
Do
you use different balls or no?
BYU and Utah, yes, which honestly makes it similar to Texas Tech and Arizona, because they have altitude, but it's not high enough to use the other ball, so that ball flies. And so I don't know if you listen to Jay Friend's, I think it was his podcast with the ITA, and he talks about how he went to Tucson to train before he went to the Challenger. He's like, I couldn't make a ball for 2 weeks. Well, that's the reason. It's not because he was struggling as a player. It is hard to go in there and win for a number of reasons, but the biggest one is the altitude. And so, those are things that we have to take into account. It's a challenge, but I think if you look at it in the right ways, it can be good for guys' long-term development, though competitively it's tough. The thing that I really love about being in the Big 12, besides having the strength that we have with TCU, Arizona State, Central Florida, all these schools, is we don't have 16 schools in our conference. And so we have a lot more flexibility in scheduling than the rest of the schools in the Power Four. And yes, it can be difficult when you get into March. We have creatively solved that. For example, playing in this Indian Wells UTR Collegiate Championship, getting to have an experience like going to Palm Springs and playing, and creating experiences for our guys there. But we also can go out and schedule the best teams from every other conference and be unafraid of the 500 rule, because we can balance it out. I think a lot of schools just use their 3 or 4 dates that they have free to play, double headers and cupcake matches, because they're worried about playing 16 conference teams or 15 conference teams. And so I really like that flexibility. I think that's a huge advantage for us. We being in the middle of the country, being in such, probably the strongest region, though the Midwest is also strong. We can drive to a lot of out-of-conference schools and host a lot of out-of-conference schools at a very high level. And so, we play TCU twice, which is really nice. SMU, Rice, Texas A&M, Texas, all these schools here, very close, and out of conference, which I think is a huge advantage. So, we go in, we schedule Illinois, Ohio State, Wake Forest. San Diego is our first match this coming year. Next year, we're going to add Harvard and Florida. It just gives us a lot of flexibility with less conference matches. So really like our conference. Love where we're located to be able to get to everything that we need to, but also the smaller conference size, I think, gives us some real opportunity. You can, if you don't do it well, it can be a disadvantage, but I think when we have the relationships and the schedule built that we already have year to year, we can truly say we have as tough or tougher of a schedule than anybody else, which is why our guys want to come to Baylor.
Very strong conference. The biggest thing I take from that in the Big 12 is, as a coach and as a player, you have to adjust to 4 altitude schools, which you can look in 2 ways. You can look as a negative, but I'm pretty sure during your professional career, if you have intentions of playing professional tennis, you're going to have to play at altitude. So that's what college is for. It's to prepare you for that next step. Very interesting. That's pretty amazing, actually. One thing I want to talk about is Baylor is a private school, correct?
Yes, it is.
You think of Baylor and you think of elite athletics, football stadium, massive tennis stadium, major sports, right? You've built a top 16 team this year, right? But if you don't mind me saying, Coach, you also have a lot of challenges, right? You are a smaller school. You are a private school, right? I don't need you don't necessarily need to say all the challenges involved, but there are bigger schools out there that don't have these challenges, from a scholarship count to resources, revenue share, all these things. If you can share with us as best as you can, you've built a top 16 team, but there are things that make it tough. What do you believe in here, and how have you built such a strong team with these challenges?
Yeah, it's a good question. Baylor is a special place. I don't think I would be able to sell every day something that I didn't truly believe in. I love that these guys are going to get a quality education. They're going to be prepared for when the ball stops bouncing. I hope it's when all of them are 40 plus years old. It is nice because we invest in, athletic success driving enrollment. And so our professors are, the class sizes are small. The professors understand that these are some of the best tennis players in the world. And so we have the flexibility within our schedule to travel and in the fall and in the spring and miss class, and our guys will handle their business, and the professors will work with them. And so I really like the niche of, it's not too big to where these guys are just a number, but it's not too small and academic that the university doesn't care that these guys are elite athletes. So I really like that part. The challenge comes in is, it's 15,000 students. It's a private school. The cost of education is steep here. I think the cost of attendance this year is north of $86,000.
Wow.
And we don't have the alumni base that Texas A&M would have, that a Texas would have, where they have 75,000 students every year. And so we definitely can't compete dollar for dollar, donor for donor. And so that is a challenge in all of our sports, and trying to creatively think, how can we remain relevant, compete at that highest level. We have to do it a little bit differently. We're not going to be able to go out and just throw money at student athletes, at the same levels. And so for us, I tell this to all the recruits, the parents, and then our guys, is we're going to remain transformational in a transactional world. And we're going to give everything that we have as people to these young men. We will take care of them as best as we possibly can and prepare them for the next step. And, we've had a lot of success in that regard of getting guys here and keeping them here because they understand why they're here. They're here for the right reasons. They want to develop as tennis players and as people. And they're proud of being at Baylor. And I do think one of the biggest challenges today is creating loyalty in this transactional world. And that's something that we try very hard as a staff to give to our players, and to show them, hey, we are committed and loyal to you, and we want the same thing in return. And I don't know that I always get there, but I really try to give more to our players than I ask of them back. And I think that's a feeling that resonates with them, that they understand, and has paid dividends. Now, over the long term, we'll see. I think recruiting gets harder. I think as we have maybe less staff and more time needed with our current players, that is something that I subscribe to, is let's do a great job with our current players, and that will recruit the next guy. I think that's helped. But going out and identifying talent is harder to do now, especially when these crazy offers are being thrown around, and eligibility is getting all out of whack. So anybody and everybody can come play college tennis these days, and it doesn't necessarily align with what we're trying to do here. And so it gets more and more challenging, but I think at the end of the day, you have to evolve to survive. So we're looking at different ways to continue to enhance the experience for our student athletes, and find ways to remain relevant. And I know we have, at the time of this recording, I think our new AD is 2 or 3 days old. And so it's going to be fascinating to see what direction he wants to take us as an athletic department. But he's a Baylor grad, and I think if you cut him open, he would bleed green and gold. And so we're excited to have him alongside us, and look forward to working with him to try to find these ways. I think we we have always, I came here to learn what it's like to be at one of the best athletic departments in the country. I accepted the head coaching job thinking we're going to, be the best team in the country as part of the best athletic department in the country. And that has not changed for me. And I know that's something that the rest of the head coaches here feel and believe. And so we're going to do whatever we can to get back to that point.
Players, just as a reminder, unless you are being offered something that changes your family's life from a survival standpoint, do not go somewhere just because of money. You will regret it. Go somewhere because you believe in the head coach, number one. Go somewhere because you believe in the players, the team, and what they believe in. I'll also say, I went to a smaller school. If you go to a smaller school, you will generate more real relationships. I truly believe that. And if I'm wrong, if you think I'm wrong, that's fine. That's my opinion. But I truly believe that you will get to know someone really well sitting down having lunch, who's on the football team, who's on the baseball team. You will genuinely have a great relationship with these people because it's smaller. By the way, as well, if you haven't seen Baylor tennis facility, it's a stadium. It's an actual stadium. There are 6 courts. There are thousands of seats. They also have 6 courts in the back. They have an indoor. If you haven't had a chance to go see it, please make sure you do.
I don't want to cut you off, James, but I have an interesting story. So the last 2 days, we've had recruits on campus, but I was at a lunch spot close to campus, and a women's soccer player was here, and I'll bunch them together to spare you all the time. And then last night we were having an athletic staff party over at the football stadium, and I'm running around playing tag with my girls, and our volleyball coach walks out with a recruit to show them around. And I walked up to both and I asked them, why did you choose the school that you went to originally? And then why are you leaving? And what do you know now that you didn't know? And these are not tennis players, soccer, volleyball. And they both said, we thought we were, we did not realize how important the people were. And they are transferring from 2 of the best in their respective sports programs in the country. Now, we also have nationally ranked soccer and volleyball teams, so you have to be in range, of course. But they said they are leaving their schools and now looking more than anything else for the people that they're going to be surrounded by, and that has really made up their minds, and that's what has attracted them to Baylor. And so it was exciting to hear that and see that, because it's really hard as a 17 or 18-year-old, 16-year-old you get blinded by the bells and the whistles and all the shiny objects and the big stadiums. And trust me, we have it. And I said that to both of those recruits when I walked up to them. But the thing that, in my opinion, should make the decision for those 2 recruits is they have incredible coaches that are going to care about them, and the people that are going to surround them are going to make them probably better athletes, but definitely better people.
That's a great story. Michael, I have 3 more questions for you. Sorry for that. I've been told in this world that podcasting should be between 20 and 35 minutes. We may go a bit over, so sorry to the podcasting world, but a great conversation is a good one. So who are you as a coach? What do you believe in, right? What do you tell recruits? What do you do on a daily basis when you're on the tennis court? Individuals, team practice, competing, technical. Can you share with us as briefly as you can what you're about?
I'm about partnering with the student athlete and figuring out what they need to help make them better. I have had several great mentors, and they've always told me to put my staff in positions of strength and play to all of their strengths and allow them to be who they are, and then fill in the gaps. And so if I have to be the rah-rah guy, I can do that. If I need to be the quiet guy that sits on the bench in the corner, I can do that. And really everything in between. I do believe that, for me, it's all about relationships. It starts with finding a way to make that connection with each of our student athletes, with each of our staff members. And so that's really who I am first, is I'm a relationship guy. And I want to connect with the individual, and then from there figure out, okay, what makes them tick? Why? What do they like? What do they not like? How can they be reached? And for our tennis players, I mean, it's an individual sport. It's been all about them their entire lives. They've gotten this way for a reason, to this level for a reason. And so I want to just deliver on, what they need and what they want to get better. And once you know them well enough, certainly there are times where what they think they need or want is not actually right. And I will tell them, but at first the relationship has to be strong. And so I try to be as much of a Swiss Army knife of a relationship coach as I can possibly be. And so you'll see me yell at guys, you'll see me laugh with guys, put an arm around their shoulder, give them a kick in the pants, depending on who it is and what they can really handle, whatever it takes to really move them forward.
Relationships. Well, that's great to hear as well. Look, you host multiple PTT events. You host in the summer, fall. I think most people know that if you've played there. Very simple question. Why do you want to do these events at Baylor?
Yeah, it's an incredible opportunity, I think, for high level players to develop. One thing that our staff talks a lot about just as a group, but also with our student athletes is match count matters. And it's really difficult to find tournaments where you can go out, give it everything you got, play a really physical long match, and then know that you're going to be able to do it the next day, regardless of the result. And I just think that UTR has found a system that is certainly successful on their end, but it really serves our athletes very well, especially developmentally. So that 17 to 23-year-old range is it's so key for these guys to build these type of tournaments into their schedule. And you're having to travel some, but the understanding that you're going to have guaranteed prize money, even if you lay an egg the whole week, it allows you to, relax and play. I think that's a very stressful part of making a schedule when you're on the Futures Tour, or you're, even as a junior for families, college kids don't have a ton of money. So what am I going to do that week? Just knowing, hey, I'm going to be taken care of. I can just play tennis. I can go back and watch the video. I can break down the stats. I can get better. And you get to the end of the week and you might have had a bad week, actually, but I played as if I had won the tournament. I've played 5-6 matches. You cannot get worse if you are willing to go out there and try hard every day. And I really like that. And I will say one thing that maybe people don't understand is we are very developmental here at Baylor. We want, I joke with my guys, this is not a prison. Okay. I want guys that want to be here. I want guys that want to get better. We think it's a great place, but again, you don't have to be here if you don't want to, but we have developed a culture of guys being here throughout the summer because our coaches are here, our trainer, our strength and conditioning coach are all here, and we work year round. Yeah, school might not be in session. You might just be taking an online summer class, but you can get better during that time. Actually, in the tennis world, there's very little time to actually develop. You're always just playing matches and stuff. But one of the biggest things for us is like an international student that comes in as an incoming freshman. If they come in the summer, they have to do 9 out of their 12 hours in-person class. And so before these PTTs and some other tournaments that we could host, they don't have the time to travel around to different places and still be here at Baylor. And being able to put these PTTs on, if you do 1 per month, these guys are going to get 5 or 6 matches, be able to train, get here, get used to the system, and they're going to be firing on all cylinders as an incoming freshman by the time August hits. And so that has been a huge advantage. So we have 4 guys signed for this year coming in, and guess what? All 4 of them are going to be here June 8th. And that is a massive advantage for us as a university and as an athletic department and a tennis program. And then, I just don't think we can do that without the PTTs. Even though I think we do a great job in development, I think we need those matches as well.
That's how you do it. That is how you do it. If you can get your players on campus in the summer, I got to shout out also, like in Ohio State, they stay in the summer. It's up to the player. The player can choose how much they really want to train. But if you get the right player, student athlete, there's a good chance they want to get better. Also, if you can watch them compete for 4 days of a week, 5 days of a week, it's that's how you prepare your guys for the season. That's how you do it. I'm that's the first time someone's actually said that, and an understanding of why we brought up this summer tour is to allow kids to compete on an elite college campus like Baylor and get enrolled.
It's great. It's great for everybody, but hey, at the end of the day, the first thing is, okay, how do I serve my student athletes the best, right? And look at a guy like, I would be remiss to not mention Blake and Drew as well, but look at what Calvin did. I think Calvin was a 12.2 when he got here. He's a 13.14, and to be honest, he's been out sick for the last 2 months. If he hadn't have gotten sick, he might be a 13.5 right now, and all these matches were so good for him, for us to build a relationship. We're out there watching, seeing, okay, how is he every day? How is he when he's fresh? How is he when he's tired? When he plays somebody below his level, when he plays somebody above his level, everything in between. The relationship building is also strong to have these guys around. And like you said, it's totally voluntary, but we've created a culture where these guys want to be here. And I think giving them the opportunity, because one of the questions is, well, how am I going to get matches? Well, now they don't even ask. Holy crap, I don't even know if I can play all those tournaments at Baylor. There's so many opportunities. That is a great problem for us to have.
Shout out Calvin, Waco Summer Slam champ. The guy, if you haven't seen Calvin play, he looks just like Tommy Paul. He flicks his backhand cross court. Absolute stud. He's a 13.2, by the way, now, and he hasn't competed in a couple months. Last question. Apologies for taking so much of your time, but it's a very, very important one. College tennis, the sport, right? It's an unbelievable product, what we're able to put out there, what we're able to show. Where are we? Where are we as a sport? What needs to be done in order to take the next step to give this sport the attention it flippin' deserves?
It's a good question, and I'll try to find a balance between the positives and the negatives of where we're at right now. I would say the golden moment in college tennis was 2022. And right before the transfer portal got too wild, right before NIL kind of took over, and before there was all these eligibility things that are going on. And so the level is continuing to increase from that point, because we have the accelerator program, we have all these UTR PTTs. Like, there's the opportunities to develop have never been greater. I think what we need to look at right now is, how do we make it sustainable? Because I think as coaches and as programs, we're unloading the clip to try to win right now, but we're going to start to look at, okay, does this really make sense? And I think it's something you talk a lot about, like having the PTTs and being creative is a big part of making this whole thing sustainable long term. But we as coaches need to think about, how do we provide a return on investment to our athletic departments? It is an incredible product. How do we draw more attention to it? I thought and I'm not a huge A&M fan, of course, but I will give credit where credit's due. The Vachereau Rinderknecht match and that whole story was one of the coolest ATP stories in the last 10, 15 years, maybe longer. And what did we get in return for that as college tennis, the ITA, Texas A&M tennis? Like, what's the return on investment there, and how do we monetize this? Because these are amazing stories, and we all have players. I've got guys on my team 100% that are going to go on and be top 100 in the world, maybe several. How do we get people to understand that and get butts in seats? Get excitement around these programs, get people investing in these programs. And I do think in the world that we live in today, we as coaches are so much more than tennis coaches. We have to be great administrators. We have to be great at marketing and fan engagement. Obviously the fundraising piece is key, but we have to get our stands full. I think we talk a lot about getting our product on television. Yeah, that's important, but if you put it on TV and no one's in the stands, then it's not exciting. And I think there's an appetite for this now. Look at what softball and volleyball and even watching the College Cup women's soccer recently with our team making the round of 16. We were all paying attention to it, and there's great crowds and great excitement, and how do we continue to drive that? And just I know we're in a very good place right now, but if we don't think long term, how do we make it a clear ROI and asset to our athletic departments? Then I worry. Not for these young men and women in the current moment, but just how can we continue to attract and retain the best players in the world?
Make your matches, make your program an event. Bring your community into your program. Allow them to meet your student athletes. Johnny over there who lives down the road, maybe he's your neighbor as a coach. He would love to meet your players. I know with college coaches, it's easy to stay in the bubble because you're stressed and you're recruiting and you're coaching and you're trying to prepare for the season. But sometimes just take a deep breath and get that community into your program and allow them to help. Do pickleball stuff, do events, do nights. I don't know, there's so many creative ways that you can do it, right?
At the end of the day, we're in the entertainment business, and that's something that we cannot forget. We can use the system that we have to mentor young people and give them, the opportunity to grow in their tennis, and who they are as a person, and move them along their path. But we have to play the game. We are in the entertainment business. We have to be competitive. We have to draw big crowds. We have to raise funds. It's all important. And so I think in the sport that we're in the space that we exist in, the coaches have got to be able to focus on a couple of those key areas. And like you said, draw in the community.
Mike, I appreciate your time. Sorry for taking so long, but that was a great conversation. It's great to establish a great relationship with you over the last year or so. But from everyone at UTR, we wish you the best of luck. As a program, we will be following, and thank you for being a great partner. All the best.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.